Hi, my name is Ricardo Olivares, and I work for ICICI Bank. I'm just going to put this here. Yes. Thank you. You know, it's very hard to go after such a wonderful speaker because he already said everything I wanted to say. The good thing is that now my presentation can be like 10 minutes, so 5 minutes tops. Give me a second. First, I want to thank CIO for the invitation. Unfortunately, our president was not able to attend, but he sent Pratik and myself here to represent us.
So we got 2 instead of 1.
Yes, of course, yeah.
That's a good deal for me.
Thanks to replace Akash, yes. So I was going to talk about the economic update, then going to government initiatives, but he already covered most of it. So I'll go pretty quickly. I will add to a couple of them.
No, sure you think it's interesting.
I know. I just don't want to bore everybody because we've seen this. We know it's a large country. It's probably a young country, but it has an old soul. So it has 1.3 billion people, 527 million workers, tens of thousands of roads and railroads, which helps economic development. It's want to be one of the youngest countries, we already heard, and the per capita income is slightly under $2,000. This is what he was talking about before. So if you look at the graph, India will have over 50% of their population at age, so they can work by 2050. While other countries, let's say Japan or Korea, even countries like the United States, the population is aging. That means the younger people will have to support a larger and larger group of older folks because we tend to live a little longer now. 100 years ago, you were 45 and you were done, and now you can expect to live close to 80, 90, even 100 years. So this is one of the things that will give India its edge. The population, highly skilled, highly educated, especially those that are coming to the US. Key takeaways, we already saw all of this, which is basically a 7.5% growth year over year. That's actually unheard of. If you think other countries, let's say I'm from Mexico, the rate of growth is about 3%. If you think Colombia is about 4%, and that's considered a great thing. If you think US, we're talking a couple of percentage points. It's not relevant. If you can grow at this rate and keep it going, you're going to be surpassing a lot of the economies today rather quickly. We're already looking at this in 20, 30 years, India will be a powerhouse. It already is, just based on population. If you think that there's 1.3 million people requiring services, requiring infrastructure, requiring new products, and especially if they're going to high-level educations, masters, PhDs, a lot of them coming to the United States, those are the kind of people that will create businesses over the next 15, 20, 30 years. If you compare, by the way, my specialty is remittances, so I look at populations, how they move across the world. The diaspora, if you think about it, and I'll spend a little time here, how it differs from other groups. Let's say if you take Mexicans, they come here, for the most part, they haven't reached the level of high school. And if you think Indians, they're mostly coming here, getting their master's, their PhD, or they already come with a master and a PhD level. So they're highly educated, they get great jobs. That's why they're probably one of the highest, they're one of the highest paid groups in the United States. I don't know if you know that. They're more than double. I'm probably telling you guys all the stuff that you already know. But you out-earn every other group by double. Roughly the average salary in the US, household income is $45,000 to $55,000. The average Indian household is about $120,000. I want to jump this piece, you already saw it. Government initiatives. One of the things that we want to see, let's say coming from looking at here to India as a foreigner. I was born in Mexico, I emigrated, similar to what most of you did. I came here to study, just stayed. I got offered a job, it was like, okay, let's do this. When you look at launching companies in other countries, you want to see several things. One of the things you want to see is the government favorable for you to launch a business? How easy it is to get the people, the resources, the technology working. I think these initiatives by the government, they're really going to push the ability of Indians to open businesses over there. And from people that are looking from the outside in to say, hey, that's a country where I can put my money I know there's something to back it up. So in this case, we're looking at, for example, the National Institution for Transforming India, which is concentrated on quality of living type of standards. So zero poverty, everybody has a decent house, there is a way to make a living and you can be proud about it. So let's talk about Make in India, where you want to make design and manufacturing a hub in there. Mexico tried it for a while, it kind of succeeded, but it did not do what the country expected. With the level of education in India, I think that's a very viable option to get there. So what happens? If you think about it, for example, the United States is expensive to make anything here. If you want to do, a friend of mine was trying to launch a company and he was trying to do just a simple base, and the development process was $60,000. It's much cheaper in India, you get the same quality, you get the same level of people, and you actually get it for a fraction of the price. So you start seeing the competitive advantage there. If you think about Digital India, well, everything moves in the digital wave today. Whatever it's a manufacturing product, or you're talking about developing the latest app, everything has to move across the internet over wires, electronics. The more people that have access to it, the better. Startup India, well, the minds that are being educated today are the ones that are going to create the products tomorrow. We were looking at this initiative, and Pratik was doing a lot of the research use. He's basically an expert in all of these topics. There's over 16,000 startups already recognized by this initiative. I mean, if you think about it, it has nothing on New York, it has nothing on Silicon Valley. The rate of startups in India has increased tremendously over the last few years. And that's due for several reasons, several causes. One of them is the amount of people that come here and actually are going back. So we have brains, I mean, years ago it was more brains getting here than staying, like a lot of you. But now we see people who are trying to go back and actually make a difference, creating new products over there, creating new startups. Well, Skill India is about training people, 400 million people that need to be trained different skills, both from going from the agricultural economy, going all the way to the digital age. You need to provide people with the skills to get there. It's not just enough to start something. You have to be able to have people to work for you, have the right skills. So that's one way to get there. Smart cities has to do about creating hubs outside of the biggest cities where you can actually set up the infrastructure from zero. One of the issues here in the US, let's say New York. I don't know how many of you have been there. It's an old city. If you try to take the subway, it's been there for about 100 and something years. Nothing works. You didn't even get Wi-Fi until a few years ago. Why? Because the old structures were not prepared to what the economy is doing. The rate of change, the new digital approach. When you create hubs outside of the main cities, you are able to create infrastructure, new infrastructure, that can support any new business. And that gives you an edge. Well, everything is about improving the quality of life. At the end, it's not just about, hey, I'm making all this money. What you want is your citizens to have a decent life, a great job, basically outlive our generations before us, have better access to education, to clean water. All of these things actually build one on top of the other to create a platform that allows a country to grow. And obviously, and we're bankers, so we think about how can we get these guys to open a bank account? Well, India has done a great job of getting the country there. Pratik was telling me about 80-something% of the population has a bank account.
87.
87%. If you compare it to, let's say, Mexico, it's about 30-35%. And they've been banked for over 100 years. So the rate of adoption has been really slow. So India has really pushed the envelope that way. The other things that we need to think about, what are the key developments that we see? One of them, and you already heard about, is tax reform. Why? Because complicated taxes make companies go underground. You don't want to deal with paying taxes and dealing with the government. Making it complicated just makes it way more difficult. We heard about the insolvency and bankrupt code. If we as lenders, we're a bank, so if we as lenders cannot see a way for us to get our money back if something goes wrong, then we're more shy about lending money out. So having this code actually help us be at ease or easier when you're looking at somebody coming up with a bright idea and say, okay, well, there is a risk, but it's manageable. The FDI changes in policy are also very important. Allowing money to flow into the country as well as out, it helps foreign investment to reach the right people at the right time. If I have to go through a series of hoops just to get my money there, I'll go somewhere else. There's plenty of countries willing to take my money. If we think about institutional reforms, all of this is great, but if you cannot get people on with broadband, if you cannot get them with a bank account, it's for naught, because as we saw, the underground just keeps everything is in cash because it's untraceable. It's hard to trace, it's hard to get a tax on, it's hard to manage. So once you build an economy and you have the tax reform, you have everything else, you also have to provide the infrastructure. This is about building roads. This is about building ports. This is about improving the infrastructure today. Not everything is going to be service. Not everything is going to be a website or an app. You actually have to build consumer products. Why? Think about what happened in Taiwan, what happened in Japan, where they had nothing. They started imitating things. And now, 40 years later, they're one of the powerhouses. Why? Because they developed their own products. They developed their brands. That's the path that India is taking. So not just to fill the gap between agriculture and digital services, we're going through every step of that chain. Obviously, we have to talk about energy because fossil fuels they have a limited time span, and we need to think about how we're going to provide power to 1.3 billion people, probably 2.2 billion people in a few years. But we have to think air, we have to think geothermal, we have to think solar. How is that going to build? It'll be better for India if the technologies are developed in-house and trying to rely on somebody else that will sell it at a premium. Obviously, the digitizing drive, somebody was telling me that you have to fill like 15 pages to open a bank account. It's hard if you have to do it on paper. You can deal with something like that online because it drives you through it. So as much as we can move and get away from paper, that will help the economy prosper just because it makes things simpler. At the same time, if we take we think about it, when we actually just create better forms, that will be better. Technology readiness, I already talked about this, providing broadband, providing cell phone service. In other economies, especially those that are growing the fastest, the rate of adoption of cell phones just keeps growing. For the most, in some countries, we have over 100% adoption rate. That means one person will have at least 1 or 2 telephones at any given time, cell phones specifically. So what are the game changers? Infrastructure, the changes to digital space. We're talking about innovation. We're talking about the talent pool. This is very important. A lot of countries will just simply run out of steam because they will have no young people to drive businesses. And obviously going online and being able to communicate with each other just accelerates the rate of transformation for a country. That was pretty fast. Now let's talk about what's going on with doing business in India. India has been moving up in their ability to create and open businesses rapidly. 4 years ago, they were in 142nd position, and last year they were in 77. So they jumped 70 spaces in the rate of 4 years. That is an amazing rate. Most countries move a few steps at a time. India is just leapfrogging. They have been focusing on stuff that matters. For example, dealing with construction permits, trading across borders, starting a business. Those are all initiatives that will help people move forward. I want to spend a few minutes. This is the good part because I took this really fast because we already heard most of it. I want to talk a few minutes about the bank because that's one of the reasons we're here. So ICICI was formed in 1955 as part of the World Bank and Indian industry. It actually merged with ICICI Bank to create what's today in 1994. In 2002. And it became the first Indian company to be traded in the New York Stock Exchange.
I actually attended the dinner when it was listed on New York Stock Exchange.
Oh, really? Awesome, yeah.
With Mr. Kamath was the chairman.
Good.
It's part of history.
Yes.
He's always part of it.
If you see this is a few years ago. This is not like 3 decades ago. This is a brand new bank. I mean,
He's quite old.
I'm sorry, I didn't mean that.
No, you said young at 71, right?
Young at 71, yes. Who is the bank today? Somebody mentioned that already. The largest private sector bank. We have $162 billion in assets, and obviously profits after tax of $1.31 billion. We have close to 20,000 branches and ATMs across India, and we cover several regions. And you're going to see a map in a little bit. Actually, I just jumped to that one. And just a good thing, we have over 50 million customer accounts. It's a good number for reference. We provide every type of service that a bank needs to provide. A lot of this is in India. Retail banking, rural banking, that's mostly in India. In other geographies we do. In the US, because we're a branch, we're limited to the type of stuff we can do. It's actually wholesale banking, except for the remittance piece. And we have subsidiaries to create anything from securities to insurance to etc. This is where we are. If you can see, we have branches, we have subsidiaries, and we have representative offices. In the US, we're a branch out of the bank. In Canada, it's actually a subsidiary. In the US, we're only located in New York. We're on 47 and 5th Avenue if you guys want to visit. Which, by the way, a lot of people just do because they see where we are and they come knocking. That they need help with their checking account. They want to have a couple of questions. They just show up. I don't know if anybody here has ever gone to our office, but we do get surprisingly 3-4 people just show up and go like, we need help. And we're working on that to make that help available. So, but you can see we're all over the world. This is not a small bank. This is something that can compete on a global level. The branch here in New York it's been here since 2008, so not too long ago.
Actually 15 years, first it was a rep office
Yes,
and then...
but as a branch we've only been here since this time. But we work here as a rep office, and obviously you can come in and start doing business. At some point you need to be formal, and that's what we're talking about. And we do have a lot of relationships with multinationals. That's been our focus. So I won't say our clients' names, but you get an idea of who they are. They've been mentioned here a couple of times. We offer a very comprehensive suite of corporate products, banking products, lending, letters of credit, all of that. And the last two are my favorite because it's the area that I manage, which is remittances. We are launching new products. We have Money to India, which you probably already know, and I hope you use. How many people here actually use Money to India? Yes? Well, we're improving the service. That's one of the reasons I joined the bank.
Thank you.
We are improving the service.
That's good.
We're also launching 2 new versions. One is going to be Money to India commercial, aimed at the small company that has to pay for anything from salaries to service providers in India. So we're going to be focusing on that area. And we're going to have Business FX, which is for slightly larger, more complex corporations that need to do transactions in up to 4 currencies. So what is the objective of the bank? We're focusing on you guys, providing services for you. And the capacity that we can, in this case, wholesale, and in this case, sending money home. So that's it. Thank you.
Thank you.